The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus journeyed to a city called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd accompanied him. As he drew near to the gate of the city, a man who had died was being carried out, the only son of a mother, and she was a widow. A large crowd from the city was with her. When the Lord saw her, he was moved with pity for her and said to her, "Do not weep." So Jesus stepped forward and touched the coffin. At this, the bearers halted, and he said, "Young man, I tell you, arise." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized them all, and they glorified God, exclaiming, "A great prophet has arisen in our midst, and God has visited his people." This report about him spread throughout the whole of Judea and all his surrounding region. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The Gospel today tells us one of the only 3 occasions that Jesus used his divine power to raise someone from death to life. One was the daughter of an officer in the synagogue. The other one was Lazarus, the brother of Martha and Mary. And then this one from the Gospel today, the son of the widow of Nain. Now, the first thing we need to remember is that even though Jesus raised them up from the dead, it was not the same as the resurrection. Jesus raised them up to their earthly life, and so they were revived for a while, but eventually they would die again as humans. The joy of those families, of those people who would rejoice because their loved ones was raised up, was limited. This joy was limited because death was still unavoidable. Jesus himself also came to us as human, and he also had to go through death as human so that he could resurrect in his glorified body. This was a hint for our faith. If we believe in Jesus, we would also resurrect like Jesus in the last day. Now back to the story of Jesus and the widow of Nain. Jesus did not wait for anyone to ask him, but Jesus looked at the widow. He was immediately moved with pity. And Jesus actively came and raised her son up. In our lives, sometimes we just feel indifferent about things and people around us. We may see poor people too often that we lose our sense of charity. We may see sick people too often and we lose our sense of sympathy. Or we may see sinful people too often and we lose our sense of guilt. Jesus reminds us today by his own action to see, to be moved with pity, to come closer and to touch with his own hands. Knowing too well that touching things of dead people would make Jesus himself impure according to the Jewish laws. But Jesus willingly accepted to be impure, to show compassion to the widow and to do miracle to her out of love. And Jesus also willingly accepted to come and to die as human, to show God's boundless love to us. So as we are waiting for the day that we would be resurrected like Jesus, to fully enjoy the glory of heaven, let us follow Jesus' example from now to take initiative to show compassion and mercy to those around us, not waiting for them to ask for it. We should actively just show compassion. Because the little things we do for others out of compassion may bring miraculous gifts and miraculous results that we could never imagine to be possible. May God, who has begun a good work in all of us, also bring it to fruitful completion. Amen.